By the title, I think most of y'all know what's up and what I need to address. I'm also a bit sick right now, so I'm sorry if my voice gets a little raspy at times. Um, I just really want to focus on this theme of the pursuit of knowledge. And as a student in a very, very competitive university and a mild overachiever, I feel like it's really important to address this, mainly in regard to how that pursuit affects us. Does the pursuit of knowledge lead to self discovery or self destruction, and how and why? Um, I think getting down to the context of these two stories will help y'all come down to a conclusion and whether I'm in the wrong or not. So, for a quick summary, Faust in the story Faust makes a deal with the devil Mephistopheles to achieve unlimited knowledge, but as a result, this leads to despair and guilt between himself and his lover Gretchen. Surprisingly similar, Hermann in the Queen of Spades is so obsessed with wanting to learn the trick to winning at cards, he unintentionally, maybe intentionally, kills an old lady. And of course, he feels regret and goes a little insane. But I know y'all are probably thinking, well, the answer is obviously self-destruction. But wait, there's more. Faust throughout the story honestly has some moments of self-discovery, and his character comes off as selfish, focused on one thing, and arrogant when it comes to his wants and needs and knowledge. Um, so Faust's character obviously develops a little bit from the beginning. Um, he starts off as this scholar that, just like wants more knowledge. And as we go throughout the story, he kind of comes to the realization that maybe it's not just like knowledge he wants. Maybe he actually wants something more like true love, and maybe that's enough to fulfill him. I wanted to highlight on page 2181, he says, "Two souls, alas, are dwelling in my breast, and one is striving to forsake its brother. Into the world in grossly loving zest, with clinging tendrils, one adheres, the other rises forcibly in guest of rarefied ancestral spheres." Now, this moment is basically him saying that there are two parts of him, one that clings to earth and its pleasures, and one that wants to rise in transcendence. Um, they also This also kind of means that there's some type of internal conflict within himself that he has become aware of at this point on. And maybe the meaning of this journey has just became a way for him to figure out who he actually is. Now, in the Queen of Spades, Herman, after giving the old lady a heart attack, um, he hallucinates receiving the card trick from her ghost. In the end of the story, however, he comes to a realization that the card trick was in fact just a trick. And on page 2305, it states that he could not believe his eyes. He could not understand how he could have slipped up. "The old woman," he shouted. And as you know, in the end of the story, he goes mad. And this doesn't show self discovery in a positive light, which I don't want the focus to be that self discovery is positive when it comes to these texts. But we can assume he went mad out of regret of his realization for his foolishness. In the beginning, his character seemed to have some rational thought and even vowed to never play cards due to sacrifices he could not make, which is stated in page 2287. Maybe this was just him trying to pursue his interests for once, and he got too caught up into it. It's also stated how his speech and words in his letters to his lover were no longer translated from the German, which I think is, a book. Um, anyways, but they started expressing his obsessed desires. And this was as time went on. So this was over a couple of days. Um, but in terms of both stories, when we bring both of the circumstances together, it seems that self destruction is the end result. But with more understanding, we can see that self discovery was still a part of that pathway to consequence. So now imagine if the stories had a sequel. Do you think that Faust and Hermann would pursue that knowledge again? Now, I would say they definitely would not, hopefully, and they would probably do things the right way, as before they face the consequences of their actions. They came to these conclusions, they came to these self discoveries of themselves and what things they, maybe should not pursue or think or assume anymore. I feel like, in regards to me and maybe you, a student here at UT Austin, many of us try to learn more than we can handle. We get burnt out, lose motivation, and maybe don't do so well mentally. But we also learn a lot about ourselves along the way. For example, I learned that I'm a big procrastinator when it comes to pretty much every single assignment, and I might do a little bit better under pressure. Now, to answer the question of does the pursuit of knowledge mostly lead to self destruction or self discovery, I'd say it's mostly self discovery. Now, of course, things also depend on the situation and the people. But in the context of Faust and Herman, it's safe to assume that they have become very aware of their mistakes. And in my opinion, it means they have learned something more important than their initial goal, their internal issues, thinking, and to not make deals with the devil and give old ladies heart.